Who killed Tupac and Biggie? And I think both of these dudes were assassinated in some kind of way. More Biggie.
Yet again, who killed Tupac and Big Deal? And I consider both these fellows were killed in some sort of manner more big deal than Tupac. I naturally suspect Tupac could have killed by a man that had an occurrence with before that day, yet large appears to be a little legislative, you realize. There are a lot of old folks in the game who are dead certain did he put a hit out on Tupac. Yet it's an all-out wreck right now, 'cause there's very little proof an unsteady observer and keyed. And Diddy has this obviously billion-dollar stronghold worked around him, yet don't lose trust. 'Cause some ogs are beginning to shout out and Ice 3D Square's been dropping clues about who off Tupac briefly. Now you see Diddy provides us with this energy of an unapproachable man who finished the music business a few times, made hella cash off a decent craftsman and hosts those unusual gatherings with his young men, someplace in the slopes in his chateau. Despite how all of that may become into a drudgery and end for Diddy. And it's all a result of the new Kefi decapture. So presently, Key is preparing for his preliminary, and the examiners, they're actually scrambling for proof. While all that is going on, Diddy's chipping away at a gospel collection with Tiana Taylor, like nothing's consistently going to contact him, except for we should not fail to remember that this buddy's done some obscure stuff all through his vocation. And some way or another, Diddy's the person who escapes everyone's notice. Like each time, it seems like his karma may be changing. However, Ice 3D shape Eminem Biddy. Sent these are the ones who are truly making some noise about Diddy and the way that he might have been behind the hit on Poke. So when Pac and Ice 3D shape ran into each other unexpectedly, it turned into a genuine huge advantage for Pac in an unpretentious manner. Solid shape sort of encouraged him. It wasn't similar to some enormous sensational thing. Yet during that time, he gave Tupac a few direction and went about as a coach of sorts, which turned out to be no joking matter in Tupac's imaginative excursion, and associated in light of the fact that the two of them went through similar battles as youthful people of color, attempting to become well-known on the planet, that appeared to be piled facing him as Tupac's star status continued to rise. He always remembered the effect that Ice 3D Square had on his life and vocation. How about Wego I met Pick? He was still essential for a computerized underground. And he was simply, you realize, the cool youthful. We was both the youthful niggas in around the gathering, so we would hang and kicking. And underscore, this computerized. Underscore is cool man, yet you realize I believe that should do records like you realize. I maintain that should do I need you realize, he said, 'cause when I inhabit is. Underscore. Up you understand what I'm talking about. And we used to gab about what Ice 3D shape had a monstrous mean for on giving props to solid shape for assisting him with finding his voice and gain the certainty to talk his reality. Yet presently, we should keep it genuine. You presumably definitely realize that Tupac figured out how to make the music that he really needed to make, meanwhile becoming one of the best and most compelling specialists ever. He dumped out of computerized underground in '91 and dropped his most memorable performance jam to end times now that very year. Then he followed it up with Strictly from An and Me Against the World. Yet things truly exploded when he released his Death Row records, debuted Everyone's Eyes on Me, yet to the extent the me I felt like I generally had a place waiting for capital punishment, just involved getting me there. Now that I'm there, mock my words passing are, is the power to be deal with in his business. I guarantee you no craftsman will outsell us. No one contact us in the film business. Ain't no one hard as us, ain't no one genuine as us, ain't no one us. Everyone's Eyes on Me stood out forever as the very first twofold independent hip jump collection on C Tupac. Sold in excess of 75 million records overall, and turned into a social legend in evident Tupac design. He just paid it for it, very much like Block accomplished for him. One of the death row record individuals who Peck truly influenced was Sneak Canine assisting Snoop. With completely understanding his extraordinary style, the Canine Dad even referenced in a meeting that his previous death row mate showed him the ropes of turning into a star, beginning with pushing him to set up his style and completely embrace his pimp persona. Now, while this was going on, Ice 3D Square was making motion pictures in Hollywood on account of John Singleton's notorious movie Young Men in the Hood entertaining thing. Is 3D Square wasn't all that inspired by motion pictures toward the beginning. While this was going down, Tupac was at that point plunging his toes into the movie world. Before his music profession truly removed, his most memorable movie gig was back in 1991. With the flick Just a Burden, then in 92 he hit movie theaters in Juice, where he played the fictitious person Cleric, a job that got lauded from pundits. Yet it was only after 1993 that Ice 3D Shape and Tupac ran into each other. And this time it wasn't actually necessary to focus on music. Yet the film's it's intriguing in light of the fact that Ice Solid Shape's choice to pass on the job of fitting retribution opened the entryway for Tupac to step in. We as a whole realize that movie turned into a chilly exemplary. You could say the Puck and Welp's lives were somewhat entwined by then. Their accounts had similitudes, and their ways associated. However, at that point, things took a dim turn when Tupac got in with Suge Knight, particularly after the Quad Studio shooting, which he nailed to Biggie after his delivery, and his transition to Death Row Records. That is when Tupac took on this forceful criminal persona. It was like he bet everything, nothing else of those political bars. He recently began rapping about the criminal way of life that he appeared to have been maneuvered into pocket, changed into something else altogether, one that even Block couldn't perceive any longer. Hit Him Up was next level, questionable, scandalous, upsetting, and downright severe. This track released such a lot of scorn on Biggie, Puffy, and the whole East Coast scene that it made Ice Block's No Vaseline, a track about his Inwa group, sound like a delicate number in any event. When he played Hit Him Up, the tune I could have done without the melody, better believe it. Did you feel like it was correct? I could have done without it, as I could have done without. __. Like it wasn't like the __. To me, like it was getting you purchasing more issues. 'Cause like you're purchasing issues, a Biggie appeared to be really shaken, or possibly he put on a decent show of it. And afterward, Tupac asserted that he had been with Big Deal's better half rapper, Confidence Evans, and that sent shockwaves. Puff was in almost the same situation, appearing as though he was in dismay. He denied any contribution in the Quad Studio shooting. Yet this passed the point of no return. Words were out there, and they couldn't be disconnected. The harm was finished. While Ice Shape's diss track could have hammered the last nail in the NWA casket, Tupac's track essentially completely exposed that casket. All signs is by all accounts pointing fingers at Puffy for Tupac's end. We as a whole know that yet toward the finish of the day, Suge is additionally to fault. Suge is answerable for Pac's passing too, in light of the fact that he permitted him to drop that track diss in the whole East Coast, fundamentally checking himself as doomed soul 3 months before his own end. So back in the evening of September 7th, 1996, Tupac was moving in a dark BMW with Suge Knight, the head owner of Death Street Records, and they were sitting at a red light close to the Vegas Strip. When things began to go south, a white Caddy pulled up, and it got terrible. Gunfire broke out, and Tupac got hit on various occasions, and tragically, obviously, he didn't make it. He was just 25 years of age. Who was as of late captured in association with Tupac's homicide, expounded on this in his journal. KVD let the cat out of the bag, conceding that he was backing up the driver in that Cadillac and had slipped a weapon into the secondary lounge, where he asserts the shots came from K's, blaming his nephew, Orlando Childpath Anderson, saying that Orlando was part of the gang in the secondary lounge that did the shooting. Anderson and Tupac had some ill will, and even had a club fight not long before the shooting. Anderson failed horrendously, only 2 years after the fact, generally guaranteed that he had literally nothing to do with Tupac's passing. Now, we were unable to arrive at those legal advisors, who used to address Suge, and Suge himself truly got a slug section that evening and pulled off minor wounds, yet he's as of now doing time in California on an absolutely inconsequential homicide accusation, serving 28 years. Greg Caden, the resigned LAPD investigator who dove in deep into Tupac's case and even composed a book about it, was not stunned by any means by Key's capture. He says that Key fundamentally hurled himself entirely in with the general mishmash and gave the Vegas cops precisely exact thing they required. Kading likewise saw this murder allegation coming all on account of Key's huge mouth. He accepts Kiffy was important for the plot from the very get-go. Now, with Key secured and sitting tight for his preliminary, there have been a ton of tales whirling around the block. Many accept that Key could ensnare Diddy. As you most likely are aware, he referenced his name numerous oftentimes previously, both in meetings and, surprisingly, in his book. What a ton of people, conceivably ice 3D shape included, could try and accept what happened is Kay will say that Diddy was the person who